We've got Jess here, Mr. Crush and Keto with me. And we want to say thanks. Tonight we're talking about keto myths and how they've been busted, debunking them, common misconceptions, your feedback, your questions, all the fun things. We're going to have a good time.
Good evening,
about 10 of you guys
everyone.
watching. I want to go ahead and just go and get things started just so we're not sitting here. I want to go ahead and get started with one. Excuse me. I'm still battling all this fun stuff, right?
I hear you, man. I'm on the same train now.
Getting better. What is going on with the interwebs? Oh, well. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump in with number one. I will talk about this. Let me go ahead and I will put this in the chat so everybody knows what's going on here. This is the number one here. That way I can put it up on the screen so everybody can see it. Keto myth number one, keto is just another version of Atkins. Now, I've heard this over and over again.
I know Atkins goes so far back. I can remember some forms of Atkins. I think maybe my parents did when I was a young child. I know that I would say some of keto is loosely based off of Atkins. But do I think it is the Atkins diet? No.
I think so. My personal opinion here is keto is a version of Atkins, but I think Atkins is a modified version of keto. Keto is kind of, if you want to take it back, I mean, even though the idea of a proper human diet wasn't something that was that wasn't like in the zeitgeist, it wasn't in the vernacular at the time. But I think with, even going back to Banting and all those things, the 1800s and such, and then coming into the early 20th century with epilepsy and type 1 diabetes and all these things that were being treated with a ketogenic like diet or lifestyle. I think Atkins is a variation of that. So I don't think it's fair to say that Atkins is just, or keto is Atkins, because I think Atkins takes a lot of stuff from keto and brought that into the mainstream. So I think really Atkins is more keto than keto is Atkins, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
And we do have some people here in the chat. Yeah, we've got Shauna's here. Good evening, Shauna, dear. We got Rick from near Miami, Mr. Duck and Iguana Tails himself. Shauna says she's back and forth. She'll be back and forth for 2 minutes making a creamy. Those are so loud. I have a Ninja Creamy machine. They're loud. Julie from the Pines, haven't seen you in a while. Good evening, dear. How are you? Jeremiah's here. Good evening, sir. I hope to see you soon. I miss you. He just lives down the street, but I mean, obviously we never see each other. And Rick says he was sick 2 weeks ago and everyone's getting it. It's been about 3 weeks for us.
Right here.
Yeah. Prince Cool Cat Lynn says, hi there, Dustin and all. Hey, Shauna. Let's see. Yeah, Rick says his own heart attack diet is its own class. Basically carnivore. And Shauna says that Atkins was great until after he died. The company blew up all those products. Well, and I get that, like, the products that he put that the company has put out are not optimal by any stretch of the imagination. They're really dirty. They have a lot of like maltitol and all kinds of dirty, nasty bubble gut causing kind of ingredients. But I think they do bring a curiosity, and with that curiosity, someone is more likely to try that and then maybe look further. So hopefully, it's like a gateway snack. Jason is here. Jason's Keto and Morris here. Just Jason Keto.
I think too, if it's a start, I think, and I can speak personally for myself, when I started keto and got into it, there was a lot to absorb. There was so much information out there. There was a lot to try to follow. I didn't quite understand the difference between total carbs and net carbs. Wasn't quite sure how to read the label correctly to understand what I was actually eating. But I do think, I will be honest, and trying it out at the very beginning, I would try some of those products just because of the notion that they're keto, you know what I mean, or they're somewhat keto specific. Like, I can remember when I was a kid, and I don't know if this is a thing or anyone else can. Something reminds me of Atkins is there was Atkins bread. Does that sound familiar?
I don't know if I ever saw that.
I don't know why that is just kind of like playing in my head.
I'll look it up and see.
But being someone who is not real big on chocolates and those types of snacks. Like me, I mean, I'm a big. My issue is like chips and that type of thing. So I tried those things, but I didn't gravitate towards them or buy a lot of it. But I do remember even Atkins bars, and I think just buying those because the box looked good, not necessarily knowing that it was, supposed to be, or claimed to be, healthy / keto type, type foods.
Yeah, I think, well, and today is, oddly enough, today is Chandra and I's 8-year ketoversary. So we started keto 8 years ago, so 2016. And when we did that in 2016, Atkins product line wasn't quite what it is now. The only real thing that you could find in the grocery store were a couple flavors of Quest bars at the time. There was nothing else available at Walmart, Target, any of that. I mean, we weren't finding high key. We weren't, I mean, outside of like pork rind, none of that stuff. There wasn't, I mean, you go to Walmart today, and there's, at least our Walmart, there's about 6 or 7 different low carb brands of bread on the shelf, all mixed in with the regular bread. And that's not a thing that was around at the time. And I mean, even when like the first keto bread that came on the market that was available mass was at Aldi. Aldi had it. And I actually had a friend of mine pick some up in Chicago.
I remember you couldn't get it.
Yeah.
You tried to source every Aldi in 5-10 mile radius, and they were they get it in and it was out at this same day. I remember trying to get some of that.
So and I see in some of the comments here that like basically Sean is basically saying something along the lines that the keto products have come out don't end up being gateway snack if you don't have the control of it. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. Because okay, so it is a double-edged sword. For some people, they're not even going to try if they don't have something that they can snack on. So if there's not products out there, there's not breads or any kind of semblance of their own normalcy, they're less likely to even give it a shot. They don't want to just give up everything cold turkey. Now, for someone like myself, when we started, we were going back to just whole foods because we didn't have any other thing. It was just meat, eggs, veggies. We're doing, we got like one of those zoodle makers and we're making veggie noodles and we were doing all that stuff. We were starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And as time has gone on, I think having the availability of those snacks has probably saved us from buying the Oreos or buying whatever from time to time. Now, would it be better in the long run if we were stay clean and not even have any of those? 100%. But it's one of those things like how do you help the most people possible? By giving them the most options possible. And not everybody's going to go, I mean, if you're running the gamut of proper human diet from eating basically a diet of, gas station roller hot dogs and diet soda, all the way down to a lion diet where you're eating beef and salt and water. And you're eating the cleanest farm the table beef you can find, and you're drinking the triple osmosis filtered water, and there's no microplastics in there, and I mean you've got one spectrum to the other, somewhere from eating only roller hot dogs from the gas station to eating as clean as humanly possible. We've got to fit billions of people in that spectrum, and you have to remember that a lot of those people are poor.
Oh yeah. It takes, it takes some education, and like even for myself, like my first go around with keto, you know, I was way more clean than I am this time around. I was strict. I was 20 total carbs for anything. And I got to be honest, like I sacrificed a lot for that just personally. I mean, did it help? Did it work? Yes. Did it make me, I think, learn what keto was for me and how it was going to work for me? 100%. Now, I also this time around have dabbled with, adjusting that number and not necessarily staying, total, but doing the net carb. Now, I've been keto again since April, following that specific, lifestyle, and I've dropped, over 70 pounds just in that short period of time. Now, yes, I'm a bigger person, so more weight is going to come off. The thing is, and what I preach is, and I know there's a lot of others that will say like that don't do keto. Whatever your path is your path, and I will support you in any way. I am a firm believer of the science of a calorie deficit is what is needed to lose weight. We all know this. It's science. It's proven. It's there. But for me, keto for me stops me from my trigger foods that I had in the past. It stops me from overeating because I feel this type of foods that I'm eating fill me up so much quicker. My focus is obviously protein, before a lot of anything else. And I mean, and, as you and I both like, and I know a lot of others, coffee has been my transfer addiction. Of other stuff and juices that I used to drink, I've now transfer that addiction of stuff. I used to have to go through drive-throughs just because I felt that I had to do that. And I switched over to, if I go through a drive-through now, it's actually some a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks just to get coffee. So it's just, it is different. But as far as, Atkins is concerned, if we want to call, kind of cross that off the list of, I don't think it's, if it were more predominantly keto than some will say it is, I think it would be more at the forefront than what it is today.
I think
And
they've kind of, yeah, I think they've jumped the shark with their own product line. So So I think, I mean, and it seems that everybody kind of agrees that I would say that Atkins, at least Atkins as a company itself, whether what Atkins was as a person was putting out there is vastly different from what you're going to find, in the frozen food section, the Atkins meals, the Atkins treats, and all that stuff. Um, I don't see anything about any Atkins bread, but that doesn't mean it didn't exist. Um,
I think Atkins is more low carb
yeah,
than it is to be classified and labeled, true keto.
yeah.
And
Now, I mean, I don't know. We'd have to go back and if we could even find a way to look at his research and all that stuff and find out, did he prioritize ketones and all, was that I've never read his books, so I don't know. So, yeah. And Sean is basically, just so you know, I'm trying to get back on track. It's been a rough year. It's been a rough year for everybody, and I think it's only going to get worse before it gets better for most people. And the fact that that she shows up in our lives, and she's in the community, and I'll see her in October. I'll see her. She's coming from California to Keto Palooza, and I'll be spending about 3 or 4 days with her, along with about 300 other people. But she's putting herself out there. She's keeping herself accountable the best way she can. And I think no matter how much we have missteps, no matter how much we kind of fall off track, if we can stay consistent within the community, you can always find your way back. I mean, obviously, our doors are always open. We're always here, and I even tell people, there was a lady that decided she wasn't going to do keto carnivore anymore. She was going to go and do a different program, and I said, still come to our lives, still come hang out in our chats, still come to our meetups. We've got a meetup November the 9th here in Central Indiana. Come to those. It doesn't matter if you're doing keto or carnivore or Weight Watchers. I don't care. You're still doing what you think you need to do, what you think is best for you. And who am I to tell you that you are wrong? If you ask my opinion and would I do that, then sure, I would say Weight Watchers is probably not going to be the path that I would choose. But, with that, I digress. You know what I mean? And I think there's a lot of people in the chats here that would say staying consistent with the community is going to help you in the long run, regardless of how much you fumble.
I think, at least for me, the best way to put it is the best, if you want to use the word diet, lifestyle change, but let's just say diet, because there's a lot of the whole stigma fad diets and everything, and saying that keto is a fad diet. I don't agree with that, but that's just my own opinion. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. But what I will say is the best diet is the diet that works for you. If you found something that works for you, I am ecstatic. I am happy for you, because there is nothing easy about someone who has to lose over 100 pounds and someone who has just 3 pounds left to lose. There's still that battle. There's still that struggle. And no matter how it takes, to get those, remaining pounds off, I will never beat someone up for the decision that they want to make for how they want to do it. As you've said, may not always agree with the choice, that's made, but I know how hard it is. So if it's working for you, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna support you. But I'm not,
There's no
and it's
reason
not,
not to.
yeah. And there's nothing to judge. There's nothing to judge about what, I think the only thing that makes me mad, I know I don't want to 100% get off topic of not talking about, debunking some of these myths and stuff, but it's the natural, it's the claim of the natural weight loss, or having to say or make the tagline or just point out that you did it naturally. It's something that bothers me, or and then some people will attack me and say, oh, that's because you did it, so, some of my beginning weight loss was obviously from weight loss surgery. But I can tell you that I lost. What do I get to say? Because I went through weight loss surgery, lost a bunch of weight, gained it pretty much all back, at least over half of what I had lost from weight loss surgery, only to lose 235 pounds and like 160 on keto, put about 100 back on. Now I've lost another 70, pounds since April. Do I get to say, I'm going to the gym, I'm working out? Yes, I had weight loss surgery, but that was in 2017. So that's like 7 years ago. Whatever magic, whatever it did for my system at that point back then, I've screwed up using that tool as a way to help me any longer. It is so much harder for me now than it was after I had that. And I kind of beat myself up, but that was the tool that I needed, I guess, to, and now, frankly, I'll say it, like, save my life at the time, because I do honestly think that I was on a road of 581 pounds sitting in a hospital bed with ulcers on both my legs. And I seriously felt like I was, failing myself, failing my kids and my wife, and that I was going to die. And I was definitely afraid of that, so much so that I had to do something about it. But, that's for another night.
Well, but I mean, it's valid. It's valid. I think, okay, so I understand where you're coming from. And I mean, I've talked about that at length, I talked that, before we started the ketogenic diet, Shannon and I sat down and we talked about, what are our options? What is our, what's our path? We discussed weight loss surgery. We discussed different things. And I think that's an important conversation that everybody should have. If, obviously weight loss surgery is, and I think that for some, weight loss surgery is the path, whether I like it or not, whether I think somebody could do it. Right? Okay, so I think, is it possible that every single person that's overweight could be successful without weight loss surgery? Yes. Is it likely? No. Some people need the weight loss surgery as the proverbial kick in the ass to get things moving forward. It's a path, it's a plan, it's a thing that they are working towards for them. Now, I don't think weight loss surgery is right for everybody. But at the same time, I don't think that it should be the first option. But obviously, when you get to that step, for some people, it's the only option they have left. So I try not to deem, even as much as catastrophic as it can be for some, because it does completely change you on the inside, depending on what procedure you have. It's not optimal. And I think the weight of that not being optimal should be discussed. And I think isn't always discussed correctly. And it gets demonized, but just because people look at it as a cheat code. And I don't think it's a cheat code. I think it's
I don't know.
It's definitely something that people will that will gravitate towards because they think it's going to be an easier path. But reality is, really, when you go through the weight loss surgery, and you obviously know better than anybody, is basically then you are eating keto anyway, for the most part, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're prioritizing protein. You're keeping sugars and carbohydrates low. It may not be a high fat diet, but it's a prioritized protein, low carbohydrate, low sugar diet. But it's also very small amounts of food all the way around.
Oh, what?
So, and and I think that it's important to have these discussions. People who have had the surgery, and I think that it's important to showcase the benefits, the downsides, the negatives, all of it. And I understand that, like, where somebody would be, like, I did it without weight loss surgery. And I try not, and I hope I don't come off that way, but um I want to make sure that people know that it is possible to do it without surgery as well. Because I think there's always that kind of teetering point where somebody can go either way, where they may, if they start now, they could be successful without surgery. And if they wait a year, maybe 2 years, then they have no choice but to go with surgery. I don't know. And I just want to make sure that everybody is, provided the best possible information without being a dickbag about it, really.
Oh, 100%. My regret is, even though I had to do something drastic, is how I felt at the time. Um, my only regret is, even though that tool was provided for me and I went through with the procedure, the only thing that makes weight loss, in my opinion, sustainable is fixing. There's no pill, there's no surgery, there's no working out in the gym, there's no keto, there's no carnivore, there's no whatever situation that you're doing, even a calorie deficit. If you don't fix and work on what's between the ears, nothing else that you attempt to try is going to work for you. You have to, this is my personal opinion, and this is me. You have to want it just as badly as it takes to have to breathe. And that's a strong thing for me to say, because um I chose a lot of things, like, there's books, there's things out there that, like, well, how come your kids weren't enough for you to, to stop? I mean, ask an alcoholic the same question. Why, you know what I mean? So it's like, and I'm not trying to compare myself 100% to an alcoholic. What I'm trying to paint the picture of is that, even for someone that has alcoholism and they have to work on their selves as well, the same thing that I have to work on, just me personally, and is what's in between the ears, or nothing else that I preach, nothing else that I say, nothing else that I do is ever going to work. You have to work on yourself in order to achieve what you want to do on any type of lifestyle, any choices that you make, the type of food that you're putting into your body, how you want to go about eating those foods, preparing those foods, the type of stuff. You can do all the research in the world, but if you don't work on yourself and what's between the ears, you have nothing left. And that's just my own, that's, and I still don't have that 100%, figured out. I have good days, I have bad days, but I'm so much in a better spot than I was before. But it does come and go. And a classic example is I've gone up and down, and I can tell you, probably 6-7 times where I've lost 100 pounds and gained it back, trying every single thing. But the only thing that has been sustainable for me has been either a combination of no sugar, no grains, in in keto, because I feel that sticking with that particular lifestyle ultimately takes me away. If I stay structured in that, it takes me away from the foods that I used to eat that would just derail any progress or anything that I would make.
100%. Even for me, like I know what makes me feel the best. If I'm consistent and I'm eating ground beef on a daily basis, and eggs, and having my coffee, I feel fantastic. I just feel my best. I don't have bloating. I don't have anything. My joints are fine. I don't have any issues. I live day to day and I feel great. But do I eat that every day? No.
Right.
Partly because I think, partly I'm an idiot. I mean, because I know what I need to do on a daily basis, but I still eat other stuff. Now, I still don't stray necessarily far from the path often. Like today, I got up and I made chicken thighs. This is this morning. This is like 6 a.m. I made chicken thighs, and the granddaughter had asked for some pancakes. So I whipped up a batch of ricotta cheese pancakes with some keto chow, the new banana bread flavor. I made a batch of those.
Sounds awesome.
Oh, they were, oh man, 12. So I mean, it was this super simple 5 ingredients: eggs, ricotta, um, um, butter, um, a little bit of floof powder, a little bit of, I have some aluminum free, grain free baking powder, and um, just beef gelatin, just bovine gelatin, and then one pack of keto chow all mixed together. And I put them in like a silicone mold, baked them at 350 till they were, I didn't even put any allulose in them. If I would have put some allulose, they would have browned up a little bit better. But they came out good. She liked them. She's like, "Oh, these are good pancakes, Pa." They
So,
made, and they're delicious. But I mean, that's on track for me. But does that gonna make me feel as good as burger and eggs? No, but is it gonna keep me on track? Probably. And I took some and I had some with some I used some scissors and cut up the chicken thighs real small, and I ate that together this morning. And then I had my coffee. It's good. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. Just getting myself in a mental space to continue to do what I know I need to do is the struggle. And the struggle is real.
100%.
I've starred some comments
I
from
was I was looking at them too. So,
you can see the starred ones I have.
yeah.
Okay. Because for some reason it's not giving me like usually we'll have like a private chat, but it's not showing up for me right now. I want to touch on just Jason Keto says that most of the people that come into his lives are not on any kind of diet, but he's slowly working on convincing them. Yeah, I mean, realistically, leading by example and people coming in, coming and going. And I know I have some people that come into the chats on Sunday mornings or whenever that aren't necessarily keto, and they'll see what's going on. People watch on the outside on Facebook, and people that in real life that will see what you do, and maybe they're doing what you're doing and they're not even telling you.
Do you,
And
are they coming in there, you think, more as a curiosity of what?
it could be maybe maybe to support to chat,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a curiosity level, maybe there's a definite component to that. So you know and I don't question when anybody comes in. I want that's why I want everybody to be welcome, because you never know, people know that they're struggling, whether they're going to tell you they're struggling or not. I've had people who have been doing what I do or been doing, follow me what I'm doing, and they'll come by and tell me a few months later, "Oh, I've been doing what you've been doing, and it's done this, this, and this for me," and I'm like floored because they've never mentioned it, they never asked me any questions, they never come to me with anything. They just started doing it on their own because they saw what I was doing, and that's realistically the only thing I think you can do. You can't twist somebody's arm to do what you want them to do. I've had friends even recently pass away, from type 1 diabetes they've been type 1 their whole life, and you just watch them deteriorate, and what would help them, and they're following the doctor's advice to a degree. The doctor can't get my insulin right. They can't get my blood glucose stable. But then, you see that they're eating big, huge bowls of pasta, and you're like, that's why. But you can't, and I did try to talk to them one time, and it didn't go over well. So you just have to, you have to just respectfully
It's
back off and let them. I mean, and it hurts so much to watch someone you care about go down that path, knowing that if they would just make these changes, it would make a world of difference in their life. But they don't stay, but you can't make them do it.
not at all.
You just can't.
No, you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink it.
So I'm not trying to be super down and out in Beverly Hills here, but Brian Doyle say, my question is, I am really doing keto, or am I really doing keto if I can't produce and use enough ketones to actually lose weight? Now, there are new continuous ketone monitors on the market. Now, I know that's an expense that not everybody can afford. And I don't even know, I know there's one company that makes them, and I know that they were like, not this year, but the summer before, they were at Hack Your Health, or what it was at the time, KetoCon. Now Hack Your Health by KetoCon, and Austin, Texas. So my thing is we don't know really enough about ketone production, even with the continuous, even with sticking your finger. I've got a thing around here somewhere. But where you prick your finger and you do, like whether it's a Keto Mojo or a Bio Coach, or whatever it is, because I have Bio Coach, or mine's branded Keto Coach, but they've changed. And you don't know, it's going to give you a reading of what, how many millimolars are in your blood, but you don't know how much your body's pulled from that already.
I guess the
We
question,
don't know. Yeah, we don't know like how many ketones a body utilizes in a day. We have so much more knowledge about how much blood sugar should be, how much sugar should be in your blood. You should have about a teaspoon of sugar in your glucose in your blood at any given time. That's the standard amount that should be in your blood. 1 teaspoon of glucose in your bloodstream at any given moment on a normal basis.
the question
But
I
I don't
have
think we
Brian,
do what now?
the question that I have for Brian is, how does he, what measurables is he using when he says he can't, like, how does he know he cannot produce and use enough ketones to actually lose weight?
So I know that he's been in lives before. We've had lengthy discussions. So he started off with keto, lost a bunch of weight, and then he started doing carnivore, and his HbA1c started to go back up. And now there is a theory about that as well. And then his weight started to increase. Now the theory that is floating around currently about being like carnivore, lion diet, extreme, what would be a very heavy protein lifestyle, is that your red blood cells start to live longer. So that can throw off the readings of an HbA1c to where it might now elongate that. And now what was, a 3-month snapshot is now truncated, so it looks like it's higher than it really is. So I think there'll definitely have to be some studies and more in-depth looks at that. And because that's just a theory at this point that hasn't been proven.
Yeah.
So
I was
and
reading a few of his responses here in the chat, and he mentions I use Keto Mojo daily and a CG, continuous glucose monitor. He's following Dr. Boz. Now, see, I have Keto Mojo, and I am set up, and I tried using Dr. Boz's, formula, and it discouraged me because using her formula, I was never, in a moderate or, of ketosis where on her, scale, it was registering, and I'm usually like anywhere between, 1.6 and like 2.2, anywhere at any given time. And then and this is another, I like tortillas. Okay. I like bread. That's one of my issues. So usually doesn't knock me fully out of ketosis, but I will notice that I will, spike and I'll come back, but the tortillas is what gives me, the problem. But I kind of have that same like mentality too, like where I know I'm following keto. I know I'm doing this. I know I've got the numbers to prove it and show it. But I also feel like I'm not, it's like if I'm in ketosis, you're telling me ketosis, I should be burning that as fuel. I don't know. I went like almost a month and a half of being in ketosis and didn't drop a single pound. Now, if you take measurements, I lost. But the scale did not reflect. I was fluctuating from 1 to 2 pounds up, 1 to 2 pounds down, 1 to 2 pounds up, 1 to 2 pounds down for like almost 2 months, where like I literally wanted to throw my scale at the wall.
Yeah. Now I do have a question for Brian because I'm curious to know, what are your readings daily? Are you reading like error? Is it like an error coming up and or is it like 0.1 or is it 0.2? Because to me, if you're getting any kind of reading of ketones whatsoever, your body's producing ketones.
I have not
whether
been
it's
over 0.6.
because I mean I know that some people that you have to be at 0.5 to be in ketosis. I don't necessarily think that would be true. I think as long as you're registering anything, your body's going to be producing ketones. And if your body's not producing ketones, so he says, I have not been over 0.6 ketones in a year. So your body is producing ketones. It may not been, and I don't check mine every day. And I only typically check mine when I'm fasting. Like if I'm doing an extended fast, I typically just check my ketones, my blood glucose, not necessarily for my own benefit, because typically those are questions that people are going to ask of me when I'm doing a fast.
You might be
I'm doing it for other people.
With those numbers and staying consistent, you might be like fat adapted at that point where you're not going to register higher.
Yeah, and that's I mean, and it's like, with anything, and I think we have to think about like, there's, lean mass hyper responders when it comes to cholesterol. We're still so in the infant stages of understanding ketones at this point that if you're registering at all, to me, I would say your body is in fact making them. Now, whether or not that level of ketone production, there's no way for us to know at this point. There's no way for me to know. or even be able to give any kind of real world, and obviously we don't do advice here, but there's no real way for me to even provide any information to what you would could be possibly burning, because I don't think we know. We know what a ketone reader tells us. Outside of that, I don't know what studies have been done, what blood tests are available, what kind of, I think if you're reading, 1 point, point 1, point 2, point 5, up to point 6, to point up to point 6 is completely adequate. Now, I would say if you did like a 2-week fast and you never got above point 0.6, then maybe that might be a little bit of a weird of like a flag, because I know when I do my long fast, I get into, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, not point, but 6. I never really get above 6 or 7, which you don't really want to get much higher than that anyway. And your
Yeah.
body typically won't, unless you start getting into the, the keto acidosis, that's like 12, 13, 15 sugars in the 900s, which I don't think, even if I sat down and had a half gallon of ice cream, I don't think my sugars would go to 900. But, you know, I have, one would assume adequate insulin production, and, and hopefully have gotten myself to where I am metabolically flexible enough to be able to handle it all. But I mean, it's just one of those things, like I just don't personally know. And I don't even think doctors or even scientists at this point realistically know enough about ketones and what we produce, how we burn them, like we know glucose. And there may be information out there that I'm just not aware of. Let's take a look. He says, let's see, there's some more information here. Um, I have not had more than 10 carbs in a day for months. Um, Sardine fast since Sunday 4 this morning, and glucose was still over 100 this AM.
And like, Dustin said, we're not doctors. We're not, by any means or whatever. I mean, I know I've had similar situations of what you're talking about, and what has worked for me is I will I will go one day of like not gorging or anything like that, but having some higher carb type, relatively healthier, but like maybe, like some you know, uh, potatoes or baked potatoes, more of that carby type food to kind of tell my body, I guess, like, whoa, here it is again, and then dial it back down again, and that seems to kind of trigger things where the numbers kind of reflect that. But that's just
Now,
that's something that I've done. I'm not going to say obviously that'll work for everybody, but
my hot take to this question, his question is, or if you're just happy to be listening, I know my question was simply, is it really keto? My hot take, and I'm going to go on record as saying yes,
yeah, I agree.
because if your glucose or your ketone monitor is showing anything at all, and your blood glucose is under 120, I'm going to say, because I mean, I figure if you're checking your blood glucose first thing in the morning, there's obviously what we understand now. The dawn effect isn't a specific time of day. It doesn't mean dawn. The sun's coming up, your body goes, oh no. It's going to be your circadian rhythm, what time you're normally getting up. And I imagine when you were up and moving around for the day and you're going and pricking your finger and doing the blood testing, that's you're getting up and you're getting started for the day. I don't know, and I imagine you're probably testing it at other periods throughout the day. I mean, as I know, because Brian has been in my chats, and I know he's beating his head against the wall. He's struggling mentally, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, and I don't mean to put a stigma on that, but I know that that's a struggle to do everything you're told that is correct, and you're not seeing the results that you're told you should see
Yeah.
is not one that a person will handle without some kind of mental, whether it's frustration, definite frustration, anger, resentment. There's a lot of emotions coming here. And I want to say that you still continue to show up in my chats, even though I don't think I'm very helpful to you. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I feel for you, Brian. I really do. I can sympathize just from experience. Um, it it sucks, and I know that it is very discouraging when you are doing absolutely everything, like you're following all the rules. You're and nothing is happening.
But I think that this is a very
I will
important.
say, reading your comment. Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
I was just going to say that I understand, and so even what he's got to say here, that he's like, I believe in the proper human diet. I'm just curious why it doesn't work. So here's why I think this is extremely important. Because Brian, if you're experiencing this and you're not having or seeing the results that you think you should be seeing, and you're following everything the way that you say you are, you're not the only one. You're definitely not the only one that's seeing
No,
this
not
type of frustration. Now, you may be one of the very few, especially in the community, that's vocal. A lot of people are lurkers, and I know that's it sounds so derogatory. But people who come in and the ear hustle, and they don't really make their presence known, because I mean, there's at any given time 50, 60 people watching or viewing this at a given time, with maybe 15 to 20 actually commenting. So there's a lot of people coming in and fluctuating and watching, and taking something away. Maybe they're not, they're just kind of curious or whatever. But someone, but Brian, you come in here, you're sharing your experience with us, and I can guarantee you, basically because of the law of large numbers, you are not the only one. And if you can find a way to get this worked out, because I think if you obviously want to find a solution, you're doing whatever you can. I mean, you're following the Boz protocol for now. You're saying you're not seeing the results you think you should be seeing by following Dr. Boz. I would definitely give her protocol. Have you tried? I don't know. I know that there's different people who do or don't like Maria Emmerich, but her and her husband, they have a protocol. And then there's Kim Howerton, and there's Dr. Barry, and there's all these different people, and there's different ways and points of view, and there's different and different people are going to react to different protocols. And it's frustrating because I mean, Chandra's the same way. She's been this way for 8 years, and she hasn't really lost any weight in 8 years. She's lost
When she let me, I guess there's this too. Like, uh, what
her face has gotten thinner. There's a lot of we should be good now, yeah.
You were talking, I was talking, it froze.
Like, go away. You were speaking a thought.
Yeah, I wanted to know, like, insane, for sure too. Like, I will say, even when I wasn't losing the weight and had been going to the doctor, being on keto, my blood work has been the best that it has ever been. Can it is that the same for you, Brian? Even though that the scale may not reflect the
Well,
hard work.
he's also said that his HbA1c is going up, and like I said, there's the
Um,
theory about if you're doing like strict, doing carnivore and you're keeping your carbs really really low, that you're going to see like an extended lifespan with your red blood cells. But I don't think that has anything to do with the non-weight loss. And Jackie brings up a good point. She says that some people just have a lot more internal healing. There may be something going on that's underlying that hasn't been found.
yeah,
It may not be any symptoms necessarily. And the messed up thing is a lot of doctors may not even know what to look for. If you're asymptomatic, you're saying, I'm not, my ketones are this and my blood glucose is this and your blood pressure is good and your cholesterol is good. Doctors don't know what to do.
I posted something on my Instagram too that like it was a reel where I was talking about like our having that set point, and it's like the body's happy way of saying screw you, no matter what you do, I'm keeping you at it's like it fights against everything that you're throwing at it to survive and keep itself at a certain. And I believe that is, I mean, I'm not, 2 years is extreme, I will say that. I mean, I can't imagine, Brian, and I say this because yeah, this is 30 months. uh I I cried myself to sleep a couple of nights because I was and doing everything right, and I just couldn't get this damn scale to move. And after I had like knocked it out of the park from April, and then July hit, and like you know June, I'm sorry, June and July were like horrible for me. Like the scale just wouldn't move. Um, and then just recently, I kind of changed things up a little bit, and I started going, signed up for the gym and started going to the gym. And I don't know if just mentally too that kind of triggered something for me, but ever since I've been, you know, in the gym, uh, the weight has started to come off, again for me. But
So he said that his inflammation markers are off the charts. So that makes me wonder, is
the,
there like an
the,
autoimmune issue in there underlying? I mean, you don't have to have like lupus or like, psoriasis or anything like that for there to be an underlying autoimmune issue. And you may never have even noticed it before because of everything else going on. And you start peeling away all that stuff from doing a strict, lifestyle, and you start healing a lot of things. And then that inflammation starts to kind of come to the forefront. And you may start to see that. And and I would say, and Jackie also was correct here. Like Michaela Peterson had to do the lion diet for years before she could introduce. She would have like, because she was on Rogan. I don't think like 5-6 years ago now. I think, and she said that like she had pepper and it like threw her for a loop. So she had to be super strict, just beef, salt, and water. I don't know if you've done that for any length of time. She did it for years. And she would like had like juvenile rheumatoid arthritis where she had to have like ankles replaced and knees replaced or something like that, joints being replaced at 15, 16 years old. And I wonder how deep you really may need to go to really see that inflammation start to heal. Because if your inflammation markers are off the charts, the only, and he says that he does subscribe to her as well. So I would say cut everything out. It's gonna suck. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
I was
That's
gonna say I was curious if he. I know he said just a little while ago that a sardine type, um, but have you done an extended just water fast, and what has that done to the numbers or how you felt?
I can't. He may have mentioned that before in the live. I just can't remember. Now, one thing he's saying here, and I don't ever want someone to apologize. Never apologize because this is what
Absolutely.
we're here for. Never apologize and tend to turn into the Brian pity. This is not a pity party. I want to see this through. This is what I mean. If there's a reason I go live,
Yeah.
if there's a reason that that we want to do this, if there's a reason we're here, it's because of stuff like this. Because if we can be involved with you figuring this out, then you are someone else that's in our community that can help some that the other two people that might come wrong.
So he says I can't go more than about a day. It's tough,
Yeah, it all
man.
out.
It's you know.
Could I would. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so he's basically saying that he's cut everything out. He's tried to fast but can't go more than about a day. I will tell you that I fasted. I've done up to 21 days, but I'll tell you that wasn't something that came. This was something that I worked on. Fasting is something that I worked on for years. I started it with 12 hours a day. And then after a couple of months, I bumped that to 14 hours fasted. And after a few months, I bumped that to 16 hours fasted and 18 hours fasted.
I thought it was me.
I know my internet. I don't know. I have. Jaggy says, "All right, Dustin needs subtitles tonight."
Yeah, I feel bad, and because it's when you are trying, and I've been there, and I think that's why it just kind of hits me because it's obviously close to home. So, um, but I will say this, and as Dustin said earlier, like you apologizing for, uh, I think when I approached Dustin about doing these, um, I think I will quote myself as saying that um, if we jump on here and at the end of the day, we help one person in any shape or form, then we've done, everything that we've needed to do. Whether we, so if we fall off topic of what the original, format was supposed to be, because the great community that, is being built is here to support and help you. Um, yeah, don't ever feel, wrong for that whatsoever. And that goes for obviously anybody else, because I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be times where I'm going to come on here and lean on all of you for some help and support, just because things may obviously not be going well. And, I'm going to need that encouragement and just, the kick in the pants, or even, just some, good self, or, like doubt with my self support and love, and what I'm trying to accomplish and do. So we're all a team, and we all are. I believe we're all in this together, and whatever can be done to help out, that's what this is about.
As quiet as it's kept, I utilize these lives to not only help everybody else, but as my own little bit of support system too.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, this is what keeps me on track. My family, you guys are my family as well. These lives and being here for each other, and regardless of the technical difficulties of, you know, trying to make sure that Brian feels seen and accepted, and know that that we don't think that it's crazy that he is um not able to find out what's going on with him. But that's what we're here for. And it's good that he's coming to us. And I mean, even if we aren't able to give him any answers, or, at least make him know that he's not crazy, because he's not the only one.
Absolutely.
But the fact that he's gone and he's doing his due diligence. He is trying to find out what's going on. He's had, panels run. He knows his inflammation markers are going off the charts. So that's a place to start. How do you lower inflammation? I mean, hopefully there's not something with like seed oils getting in. You never even know, there could be something in the in his tap water. You don't know. There could be, I mean, it could be black mold in his house. You don't know. He could be doing everything 100% correct, and there's some unknown factor getting in his way that he has no idea about. And the messed up thing is that could be any one of us. And then you will see that there are people out there who do live on roller hot dogs at the gas station and diet Pepsi, and they get down to 130 pounds and they feel great and they don't have any problems. And that's awesome. You feel a little frustrated because you're like, I'm doing everything I can. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And that's also being a part of a community, is you're going to see somebody who is further along than you. But we have to work together and learn how to celebrate success, get together and put our heads together for people who aren't seeing the success, people who are frustrated. Because when someone's frustrated and they feel helpless or hopeless, they are not going to necessarily hang on as long as others. Where Brian is talking about, he's been doing this for 30 months. He's been having issues. When he started, he was doing fine with just regular keto, and then he started doing the carnivore. Maybe carnivore isn't what he needs to be doing. Maybe I don't know, but his inflammation's off the charts for some reason. And he says, let me see if I can get he says, yeah, I'm sure that others are having issues, but no one wants to talk about anything negative. Well, I don't see it as negative, because if you're in this community and you're not seeing results and you are having an issue, that impacts the rest of the community. The community is here because we want to make change. We want to make changes for ourselves, and we want to get better. But if one of ours isn't getting better, how do we do, what is a community to do? A community comes together and tries to problem solve. Root cause problem solving. When we talk it out. It's not always a pleasant experience by any stretch. Negative and things that make people upset aren't always, they're never fun. But that's not necessarily the whole goal is to come. I mean, yeah, we want to come here and have a good time. Sure. But that's not the only reason. And even someone like, Maritza, good evening, dear. She says, I have problems because in my house, we don't all eat the same way.
How, just curious, how much protein is he?
I think I want to say he was trying to hit like 130, maybe a little bit more, but I'm not positive on that. Like I said, we've talked about this in numerous streams, and it's difficult for me to remember everything and keep everything straight. But he'll let us know in the chat. But I want to say that the meat shouldn't be causing the inflammation. I mean, I don't know. And they said that's why I'm here. I'm just trying to figure it out. I mean, and that's what I've never thought of him being negative.
Is he having a reaction to, is his body not jiving with the protein?
I don't know. I'm not sure where he lives. Maybe he got bit by one of those ticks. He can't eat red meat anymore.
It sounds like obviously, goal is 180 grams of protein a day. I think there's, like, Dustin said, there's obviously more to this that's behind, probably.
Right, so he's basically saying that. So a goal of 180 grams of protein a day.
Yeah. Definitely over my head.
He said no ticks. I mean, but the thing is that's just a thing. Like, I think, talking everything out, like, I mean, that's one of those things that I'm like, I don't want to live a life if I can't eat red meat. I don't want to be like, oh, I can only eat fish or whatever. Not that I don't like fish, but I mean, I like hamburger a lot. So, yeah, Maritza says
funny,
I see even like keto.
That comment. Yeah, I was gonna make a comment on this. I changed doctors because of that comment. I had a doctor with the same belief that didn't.
Yeah, I had a GP that actually mentioned ketosis as a way of losing weight. So you never know what you're going to get when it comes to a general practitioner. He was like, but he wouldn't necessarily he didn't elaborate. But Liz has some information in here to where, so Liz has two different things here. She goes, hello, I'm just watching, but I hopefully she's still here. They are still here. Just watching, but I also started in April and I have lost 70 pounds. Even after losing 70 pounds, which is a substantial amount of weight, and it's amazing. She said, they say that even after 70 pounds, I feel like I need skin surgery, which I didn't. I mean, that's one thing that I've tried to avoid by fasting. That's one reason I try to fast as much as I have over the years. I've done multiple 2-week fasts. I've done 3-week fasts. I've done loads of single week fasts. I usually try to do 1 to 3 1-week fasts a year. And I'm not afraid to skip a day. I don't have any kind of program in place where I do like skip a day. I thought about doing something where, say, I would eat I'd have like a 1 day with food, 1 day without, 2 days with food, 1 day without, and then like 1 day with food, 2 days without, or whatever. I have to put on a calendar and do like a grid and put it in my calendar and have to get up and like, is it today an eat day or not an eat day? You know what I mean? And I don't know, like, but life doesn't always work out as planned. So I don't know how exactly that would necessarily work out, but you know, just things that I've thought about because I think, we always want to kind of keep things changing up a little bit. And so, yeah, I just think, yeah, the skin surgery is a terrifying prospect. It's like, hopefully, I won't need anything like that. And I think I would, at least what I have now, I would just live with. It's not anything that's a hindrance to me. It's just a little unsightly. And I'm always been a little unsightly anyway. So I think I'll be okay. I'm a little bridge
I
troll,
think
so it's
I would.
fine.
Yeah, I've thought about it. If and when that time, comes for me, that uh, if it were impeding me from continuing to lose weight or um, causing rashes and that type of thing, if it got like medically necessary, I think if I could, or if it played on my mind of when I look in the mirror, I need that to justify, like, th- that combination of things. But, it's one of those things like, I carry a lot of weight in my lower abdomen, and um, I feel like as I continue to lose weight, I'll have to have, that part of it removed, which is then going to, but it's tough, man, because insurance doesn't cover that, and it's very, very, you know, expensive. So it'll be a nice decision to have to make. It'll be it'll be a struggle for me to make that decision, but but I still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, Brian says that his new doctor is fine with keto. And Steph Exposing Darkness says that she's lucky her doctor is Tony Hampton. So that's always a plus. So do we want to go to another topic? I mean, not necessarily a topic, but I had another myth that was lined up. I don't know how long you want to go. I mean, I'm good for whatever.
We can go to 11 if you want to, or 10:45, maybe another 30. I am here.
Okay. All right. This one's obvious. I'm going to put it here in the chat. Myth: keto is not sustainable long term. I imagine that everybody in the chat is going to say, nope. I mean, as you can see, I've been doing, today's my 8-year ketoversary. 8 years is, I would say, sustainable, or that would be considered long term.
Let me ask you this question, Dustin. In 8 years, of doing keto, how many, in all honesty, how many times have you veered away and actually treated yourself to something completely non-keto? Like, whether it was a day, whether it was a few days, whether it was a week, like you got sick and just keto wasn't the thing for a week. You know, or at the grocery store and was like, screw it, I'm getting this. I don't care that it's not keto. I want it. I'm gonna have it.
I would say probably over the last 8 years, probably about 5% of the time. Maybe I would say
Okay.
probably did not go over 10% of the time. Because I mean, we're talking
Like if you went
Disney
to
vacations, we're talking, like
the point I'm getting at is that obviously we're all human, and there's a big misconception, I guess, that of what like sustainable long term really means, and like having to follow something 100% verbatim. I had a conversation with someone good friend of mine, where because I did keto back in like 2021 till like 2023 and had lost a bunch of weight. Then in 2023 had a relapse regain. I had just my world got rocked a little bit, and had some changes, job changes, that type of thing, and back injury, and I fell into old habits or whatever. And it's like that right there, they focused on that and took that as being, yeah, it's not, it's not sustainable because you couldn't get through that point in time in your life, uh, and continue to follow keto. You had to, you fell onto, onto something else, or you went back to old habits or whatever. And it's kind of like, there's so much more to that than just continuing to follow. Like, you know, I found myself back to it. So what, I mean, I just, I think there's a toss up of saying, sustainable long term, and how long is long term? Is long term 3 months? Is long term 8 years? Is long term 2.5 years? What, what is, what is the definition? What defines it being sustainable long term? If you turn it into your lifestyle and that's what it is, are you okay to veer off sometimes from your lifestyle? Not everyone does the same thing every day of their life.
right. And like for me, the way that I look at a lifestyle for me is, and I've said this a bunch of times before, and I'll reiterate it now, is perfection is impossible. What I strive for is consistency. So what I needed for consistency in the beginning, starting this journey, was more than I need now. I had to completely change and shift, and I had to we went a couple of months without even having anything really sweet necessarily. I mean, obviously there was just a lot of there wasn't a lot of options. And nowadays, I figure for me, if I stay 95 to 98% consistent, then I'm happy with myself. I'm okay with myself. I can see that's a sustainable way for me. And there's and the thing is if you're striving for perfection, you're always going to disappoint yourself. And disappointing
So
yourself is going to open
you're at a
yourself up to
party.
do what now?
You're at a party, okay,
Okay.
and there's cake there that's obviously not keto. And I'm just throwing this as it could be anything. You go to a wedding, and they're serving family style, and there's not really keto choices. Do you choose to not eat at the wedding and wait till afterwards to then go find something that is, you know, keto, or do you indulge a little bit because you want to enjoy being at your friend or family member's wedding, and be involved in that, situation? Or do you say the choice I need to make to maintain long-term sustainability in this, yeah, the correct choice is I don't eat the keto stuff and I wait till later.
I think it depends for me on the circumstances, what what it is. Just being off plan isn't necessarily gonna make much of a difference for me. But I mean, if it's gonna be something that's gonna make me feel bad the next day, then I'm probably more likely to abstain. Like my granddaughter's birthday. She's like, "Hey, Paul, have a cupcake." I had a cupcake. Okay. She's like, "Here, I want you to have a cupcake." She's 6. Okay. How long is she gonna be young enough to be like, "I want you to have this"?
Yeah, she wants to
Or,
experience,
and
and
next week
I mean,
next week we've got a wedding. We're gonna be at a wedding up in Wisconsin next week, next weekend. And I don't know exactly what they're gonna be serving at the wedding and the reception. I think we had to check something off, but I don't remember what it was. But if it doesn't look good, I'm not gonna worry. Sometimes, even if I know I'm gonna feel bad the next day, if it looks good and I'm like, you know what? That joy that I may feel for the 20 minutes that I'm eating that food, I might feel crappy the next day. Sometimes it's worth it. Most of the time it's not. And I mean, realistically, I mean, that's why I am able to stay consistent, because I know if I eat bad foods consistently, I'm going to feel bad, and I don't want to feel bad. I don't want my ankles to hurt. I don't want my joints to feel puffy and swollen. I don't want to be foggy. I don't want to be lethargic. I want to feel like I'm light on my feet. I don't want to feel bloated, and sometimes we make poor choices and we do it anyway. But most of the time, we're able to make the right choices and keep that consistency there. Sometimes you'll go to a wedding and the food they're serving doesn't seem all that great. And sometimes wedding cake isn't that good. Wedding cake's actually really easy to not eat because most wedding cake is gross, in my experience.
yeah,
Hot take. I'm never a big huge cake
it
person
always
anyway.
it
You
always
know?
it always looks better than what it actually tastes like.
Now, if they had a
It
big,
looks
huge
like it's going to be
batch
good, and
of
then
ice
you're
cream, then I'm
totally
probably in trouble.
big disappointment. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, I
my
just
thing is,
think
it's like
that
going to that wedding or whatever. There's a big tray of cookies, and trying to stay away from, obviously, you know. And it's like, do I enjoy one cookie? And then does one cookie turn into 3 cookies? Does one cookie turn into 5 cookies?
but
Like,
only
I
you
know
can
for
make
me, I have to find, well, when it comes to pizza, uh,
pizza's hard.
when it comes to pizza, I can't, I can't, I will totally find a substitute for pizza because I've gotten myself in trouble where, you know, class example is like obviously a few years back, um, went on vacation with my wife to Chicago. Chicago has wonderful and great places to eat pizza. I wanted to experience while on vacation. I thought I was strong enough, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier tonight about fixing what's between the ears. And you know, I got into that mindset that I can go on vacation, I can have some pizza. Then I came home and it was like, well, I can have a little bit of pizza while I'm at home. And I started finding myself, like, and that's just it. Like pizza is the trigger food for me. So It's finding the keto substitutes of doing pizza just a different way, where I still feel like I'm getting my fix for eating pizza. But if I go back to the true on pizza chains and local pizza places that I like to get my pizza from, and even if there's no way, I know there's no way that I could do that a one time thing and then not feel like 3 days later I oh let's do it again. I'll go to the gym, I'll work it out. It'll just be a consistent cycle, so that's my one thing is like I can go to the wedding, I can go, to a party, and I might nibble or indulge on something a little bit that's there because I want to, or I may have the choice and say, no, I don't, I don't want to at this point in time. But if it's pizza, I have to avoid it at all costs because it will wreck me. It will ruin me.
Like, so for my
And
birthday
that's
this
just a
year, I
part of like, I
decided,
guess, finding.
yeah, like, so this year for my birthday, I found out that Pizza Hut, which I'm not a huge fan of Pizza Hut, but I found out that they had the Big New Yorker back, and that's something they had in the 90s. So I was like, okay, for my birthday, I'm gonna get a Big New Yorker pizza. Called them up, hey, I want a Big New Yorker. I want pepperoni sausage, and they've got fresh garlic now. You can get fresh garlic on your pizza. So I want that. I pick it up, bring it home. They screwed up my order, and it was too late to, for them to call them. They didn't answer the phone. I was like, so I basically just had, it was soggy. It was, I mean, I know it's looking a floppy. It's Pizza Hut. And I was like, you know what? And that's the kind of those things too. Like, they say you can't go home again sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I was trying to relive something from the 90s that I really liked, and it was just not the same.
Yeah.
So it's probably a good thing, even though it was my birthday and it was kind of like a letdown. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if it would have been a really good experience, then I may have been more lenient with myself to go, that was so good. Let's order it. Let's have another special night tonight. So in reality, I think it was better for me personally that it was a negative experience. I could have called and I could have complained and got another. I didn't call and complain because I know they would have just given me another pizza. And I didn't need another pizza. And I didn't want my money back. I didn't really need that either, but you know. But yeah, pizza is one of those things that's very difficult for me. And I talk a lot about corn dogs, but at least here we don't have any place to get like really good fresh corn dogs unless it's like the
There,
Indiana State Fair, and that's once a year. And I'm like, we go, we walk around, it's like 105,000 degrees outside. We're sweating ourselves to death. We're walking around, we're smelling cow poop, you know what I mean? And I get a couple of corn dogs. We take the girl, we see animals, we see horses, we see sheep, we see all the weird people that come out to the fair, and I have a couple of corn dogs. And I'm okay with that. And it's like kind of like how with fast food here in Indy, we don't really have anything that really stands out to me. I am a fan of In and Out, but we don't have those yet. I would say probably within the next 10 years, it's probably highly likely that In and Out Burger is going to be moving its way north because they're putting in a corporate office near Nashville, Tennessee, which means they're probably going to be putting the restaurants in Nashville, Tennessee. And if there's a corporate office and a restaurant in
oh yeah.
Nashville, Tennessee, that means there's a distribution place going in that can get them their food fresh. And we're only 5 hours from Nashville. The truck can get to Nashville and back within a day. They're probably going to bring it here. But then at least I have, like the Flying Dutchman or get my, whatever and be okay. But right now, there's the only thing that I deal with fast food wise is rolling through McDonald's and getting a Coke Zero from time to time. That at least gives me some semblance of, stopping for a treat, when we're out and about. We don't really stop for coffee too much. I do enjoy coffee. I drink coffee every day. But you know. But like, and Steph said luminalties, which we have one of those, and I got the sausage crust. It's just not. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of it. I didn't even eat all of it. I was
I
actually
didn't.
really disappointed. Have you even heard of it?
I have not. I've heard of luminalties, but not the sausage crust. No,
Yeah, I
because
think
I
they all have
know
it.
that they ship pizzas around the world too, like the frozen. Like they'll freeze it and send it to you. I wonder if they will send those if they can.
And I mean, we've got a pizza place down the street from us that sells keto pizza. You can get, fathead crust pizza, fathead crust sandwiches, breadsticks, and they're phenomenal. You know?
Yeah, I know it's a couple months out, but I'm actually really looking forward to that because we had like I was telling you the last time that we synced up on here, and there used to be a place that was not too far from here, and COVID got them and shut them down, and I was really sad about it because it was it was keto style buffet. It was all different, all desserts. It was a salad bar. It was all the they made a almost cheese slash chicken type crust, and they would do it like in a firewood type grill like oven, and then put all the toppings and everything on there, and they had this fajita style pizza, and I mean, I going through it in my head right now. I want it back so bad, and it's like even if I tried to, if I tried to attempt it, it's funny because my wife today we there's a keto bakery that's close to us that does a bunch of different stuff, and they're gonna be trying out in October, and they ship nationally now, too, but they they're coming out with like a meal to go type menu, and it's going to start in October. So all these past Wednesdays they've been testing what they're going to put on that menu to get feedback and everything. So today's thing was like a gnocchi, like a and both my wife and I love Italian food and gnocchi and like pasta and that type of stuff. So I had that today. Not the great. It's made with a little bit of like almond flour and then obviously cheese to make the puff and like of an actual gnocchi type consistency. Um, Good enough to be the substitute for it, but obviously not the same thing of what what the real thing is. But if you can at least trick yourself, But they also, the reason why I brought them up is they make a keto style pizza crust. So I got a couple of those, and then I can either buy the fixings myself, or if the girls, they're gonna like my girls want to do pizza one night, then maybe from one of the places that have the, the breadless bowls, and just buy that. But then when that comes, put that onto the, you know, uh, the keto pizza crust that they make, and then put that into the oven for a little bit and let it crisp and everything. So it's just, I don't know. I know I'm talking a lot of pizza here with you guys, but it's as far as keto being sustainable for me, it's probably been if you we'll use the term and word diet, because I've tried and have existed with many different diets in my lifetime. Like I named something and I probably put it through its paces at one time or another. But keto has been the one that has uh, been the most sustainable for me to, day in and day out. It's structured for me. I can follow it. It's not overcomplicated for me. Um, does it get boring at times? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I eat a lot of the same foods, but to me, that's okay because if I'm eating what I like, then there's nothing like I don't see any. Like people, oh, you eat the same thing, but I like it, so I don't. It doesn't seem to bother me, and it's also I also like that for this is for if you track. I also like eating the same food so that I don't have to continue with a notebook and a pen and a pad or an app on the phone. It's like I know going into what I'm eating exactly what those numbers are going to be. So it's a lot easier to track and know, where I'm at. So it's just keto for me has been very sustainable, as opposed to anything else that I've done. I tend to get distracted with other, diets, to where if I tried something, then, I'd veer off. Keto seems to have a lot of different options as opposed to some of the other diets. Like if let's just say like the Mediterranean type diet. I don't, I'm not, I'm not one to be in the kitchen cooking anything and everything. So I feel like if I chose something like that and tried to do that, I would fail at it because I would it would become too hard for me to sustain that. Where with keto seems to have a little bit of a flavor of anything and everything for me, you know. Um, and with the exception of cutting out the breads and the pizza, I kind of all my life kind of ate that way, you know. Do I love chicken? Yeah. When I wasn't doing keto, chicken always was breaded of some sort, breaded thin steak. So I would have steak. It would have some sort of breading or coating on it, fried, that type of stuff. Now it's still being able to enjoy chicken because I love the heck out of chicken. You know, it's just that it's been more sustainable for me than anything else that has ever come, come across to me as, try this or try that, So
So it being sustainable for you, what was your aha moment that you knew it was going to be sustainable
um I would say when
term?
I would say because there was enough information out there for me. Keto had gotten so big as far as the community was concerned, where I could Google mac and cheese and then find a keto substitute for mac and cheese. I could search pizza and then find, or stumble across making fathead pizza and liking fathead pizza. And, uh, finding substitutes for the things that I liked, and it wasn't really complicated or like a keto lasagna. Okay, that wasn't very complicated to make or do or anything like that. So obviously, a lot of cheese and that, but so it's like, but it was at least giving me. It's always tricked my mind into I'm getting what I want out of it, even though it's a substitute of what I used to eat, previously. And what I miss is like chips. So chips for me have turned into, you know, obviously pork rinds, and then um, there's a company called Mr. Tortilla, and they make their pitas into like chips of different flavors, and I'll do those with salsa and stuff like that. It's not an all the time thing. It's you know I buy a few of them and I have them, and let's say we trip ourselves up of like wanting, like I want Mexican or I want tacos. Okay, well then I go to that as being, the taco shell. You know, uh, knowing that I like lunch meat, and I like obviously cheese. I've always liked that ever since I was young and a kid. Now, would it be with sub buns and you know French bread loaves, and eating that all to myself? Well, now it's not that. Now it's there might be keto bread, or it might be a keto type bagel, or it's a keto style type tortilla, low carb tortilla, and it's not five, six, seven, eight of them. You know, it's one, to get my what I need out of it, and then move forward. And it really just it's really been able to find the substitutes, and then being able to find things that I've enjoyed in the past that can be made in a simplified way, that with a keto spin to it. You talked earlier about
Right.
you talked earlier about corn dogs. There is this place here. I want to go try it so bad. I've talked to my wife about it. I don't know if anyone else here and that's watching has them by them, but it's a place called Two Hands, I think it's called. And I've yet to go there. And I hope it's like I want to go and experience it, but it's one of those where I don't want to go and fall in love with it, where anytime that I'm around and in that area that I end up finding myself making my way back there. So it's one of those I've been trying to, it's like it's knowing those types of things. I'm like, let's just avoid it altogether, so it doesn't really make, you know, uh, doesn't really make that temptation. I think that's the other thing too, is keto has kind of suppressed a lot of my temptations for other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for me as well, like just when I started off, like I could barely go anywhere near like the cookie aisle of the grocery store. I would just get that deep longing just to grab a package of Oreos or whatever. It didn't matter. I was just wanted that. And now I can walk down and I'll be like, okay, is there anything new? Is there anything down here that's like, then you'll find out, oh, look, High Key now, or whatever brand it is, has a new sandwich cookie, and we'll buy some and try them or whatever, like, that's it's not as bad now. And I think like my aha moment was like Jackie talks about her migraines going down. Shauna talks about getting off of insulin shots. And for me, I have been struggling for so long with just feeling like I was walking and living life through a dense bog. Like I
Okay.
never quite felt like I was ever able to I was just felt like I was just walking through mud all the time. Mentally, physically, everything. It was always foggy and just always fighting like I'd be at, fighting sleep, always looking for something to eat, battling blood sugars, it felt like. And one day I was sitting at my office, sitting at work, and I'm just working, and it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock, where I would normally have been on the hunt for anything to put in my face, whether it was a sugary beverage or candy or random tortillas left out from a pitch in or whatever. I would go and find random tortillas. I had a bottle of sriracha at my desk. I would take tortillas, squirt sriracha on them, roll them up, and just eat them at my desk. Anything I could find. Anything I could find. Anything I could find. And I'm sitting at my desk that day, and I had this. epiphany or realization that I was clear-headed. I wasn't fighting sleep. I wasn't contemplating running through the office looking for food. I was wide awake and I was just alive and I felt like I was living in HD. I don't know any better way to explain it than that. I felt alive for the first time in a long time. I know that sounds cliche, but it's about as true as I can get.
It's a good feeling, though.
And I knew from that moment, I was like, I can't go back. I don't want to go back to not feeling, to feel like a zombie. You know, there would be days I would leave work and I would go to the grocery store and everything I did after work. Go to the grocery store. I had a mom and my mom was in a nursing home for a long time. So I had to go to the grocery store, stop by, visit my mom. I try to visit her every day because it's lonely as shit in the nursing home. You know, she was in her 50s, you know, and so I was doing that. And then I'd go home and cook dinner, get the kids, try to get them to do their chores, their homework. So it was almost like a constant battle of everything. I'm battling my own body. I'm battling my own mental. I'm battling the grocery store. I'm in the grocery store checkout line, and I feel like, you know, you get that low feeling. You know what I mean? I don't know, like if anybody's been in some kind of diabetic. I knew I was diabetic. I didn't never had any actual doctor tell me, but I didn't need to. You know what I mean? Like, and I'd have to buy 2 candy bars, eat them on the way home, then cook dinner, eat dinner, and then eat some ice cream and have chocolate milk or whatever, you know, just and then do it all again the next day. Take my heartburn medication, my allergy medicine, live life and struggle to make it through the day. And I didn't have to do that anymore. And I think it's if people can find, and I know it's possible with a proper human diet, whatever that looks like to you, whatever your version of a proper human diet is, keto, carnivore, paleo, I don't even care if it's vegan, I don't care. Whatever gets you up in the morning and gets you feeling good in the morning and get you through the day and, you know, and get you that you're living life feeling that you're living in HD, you're actually alive. I think people would then be able to truly stick to a lifestyle. I think that's what really, for me, solidified the ketogenic lifestyle as a long-term viable option or lifestyle for me is just the fact it wasn't the weight loss. That's why I started the weight loss. I was over 400 pounds. I needed to lose weight. But even before, you know, I still haven't hit goal weight, but I've still made my life better. And hopefully along the way, I help others. Good night, Jackie. She has to get up early. Jahil's here. Good evening, Jahil. Maritza says, I was on keto, was able to go 6 months without having seizures. Then I had the COVID vaccine, and now I have seizures daily. Well, I'm terribly sorry for that.
Yeah. That's too bad. My mom went through something very similar after she had the vaccine. She had COVID. Then shortly after COVID, she started having seizures and everything. And just yeah, I bringing back some memories of 2020 and 2021. I'm so sorry that you're going through that.
Definitely. I mean, that's just, it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, you know? And Shauna says, honestly, of all the diets I've tried and struggled through, with keto, I've had the best results and I feel the best and I have stayed on it the longest. Because I think, you know, and I posed this the other day, and I kind of put it everywhere, whether it was Twitter, Instagram. I was like, if the American dietary guidelines were correct, we wouldn't need to diet. Now, you can argue that. There's room for argument there, as with anything.
Well,
It just be, yeah.
it's opinionated. There's too many people out there telling you. I mean, you turn on the TV in the morning one day and they tell you drink 2 glasses of wine a day. Then they tell you no, don't drink the glasses of wine a day. Then hey, have a piece of cheese, 3 times a week. Then the next day, don't eat cheese at all. It's like another keto myth we could have talked about. What a doctor will tell you, don't eat eggs and bacon every single day of your life in the morning. Why? Like, why?
And then you talk to somebody who's lived to be 105 years old. What do you eat every day? Bacon and eggs.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I smoke 5 packs a day. I drink a half gallon of Thunderbird, and I eat a carton of eggs and
I drink bacon,
a pound of bacon.
Yeah.
And then you got people like the guy that was the running fanatic who died, ran and ran and ran and ran. I mean, mortality gets us all. It's just a matter of what quality of life are we going to experience while we're here.
I agree with a lot of what has been said. I don't have to take blood pressure medicine anymore since doing this, and my blood levels have been the best that they've ever been. So obviously having high blood pressure, that has, gone away for me. I feel the best that I've ever felt. The edema and the swelling in my legs obviously has, gone down substantially, to the point to where, I don't know that I have this just self thing about, wanting to get to a point to where I can, wear ankle socks and be, and feel confident. I'm not there yet. Don't know that I'll ever get there, just the way that my legs are. But it's, so I kind of wear like thigh high type, just the higher rise up,
compression socks.
Yeah. But completely different scenario from, and so my legs would be so swelled and just like hard as a rock to touch. And where you do like the indentation test, where you push down and see, that it'd be like 10, 12 seconds for it to come, sometime. I mean, I bet it was even longer at some point. And they were just, and I can't even tell you, at nearly 600 pounds, how many calories I was really eating and consuming. And if you want to go back, like, what was I eating in a day? Like at that point in time in my life, like I would say, a lot of it was, didn't really wake up and do a breakfast. I would drive to work and I would get breakfast on the way there, which was probably, the sausage burritos at McDonald's, orange juice, And then, so the 2 sausage things that they have, the burritos, and then a sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit. And that was like an everyday thing. So that's breakfast. Then lunch comes around. Normally, where I was working at the time, they would eat out a lot and get lunch. So then I'm, taking part in that. And that could be anything from, pizza to wings to, nothing healthy. Then on the way home, I would then call my wife and say, "What's for dinner?" I may not like exactly what she had said was, going to be for dinner. So on the way home, I would stop off at a fast food, name one, Taco Bell, Burger King, whatever, eat that before going home. Then saying to myself, I'm not going to eat the meal that was made because I don't like it, but then find myself eating the meal that I don't like just because it's more food. And that was just the continuous, cycle of what I did over and over and over, not including in between those times having any type of chips and snacks and ice cream and whatever else it may be. Or like, as an example, ordering out would have been, like door dashing, whatever it may be, would have been getting the base meal, but then always having to have something else that went with it. Or there was times where we would order out from, like DoorDash. And then, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world when DoorDash started adding where not only would they go to the restaurant for you, but they would stop off at 7-Eleven or a convenience and get you something there and bring it to you as well. So you could get them to bring you pints of ice cream. You could get them to bring. So what I would do is I would have them bring me a whole, not a sleeve or anything, but the whole big thing. Like, watch out for me if golden Oreos are around, because that's like my trigger. That's like pizza to me. I will eat the whole. I'll eat the whole thing. I'll eat the whole thing and it'll be gone within an hour. That's, whether I dip them in milk or eat them, and I would put them in the refrigerator, because to me they were better cold than they were, sitting out. And there was just a obviously continuous cycle. And now, complete opposite, I have my coffee in the morning. I sometimes will have the coffee and then fast until lunchtime. And then for lunch is usually like, I really like these real good food makes these like jalapeno type, like burrito type things. And I'll eat those. And then, I'm real big on, and I watch myself because I'm real big on salads, but I watch myself too because salads aren't always the most healthy thing. Or when you add a bunch of other stuff into the salad, then the salad almost becomes, not the greatest thing for you as well. So,
Yeah.
it's just funny. It's like, yeah, eat a salad, it's healthy. You got to really watch yourself there, because you can overconsume a lot of calories in a salad and not even know it. But like grilled chicken and, obviously, like lunch meat with a sandwich, the grilled chicken type, stuff. I am I boring with it? Yeah, I think so. Do I eat a lot of the same type of stuff? Like, we'll go and we'll do the bulk food type buying of stuff, and n- not really so much meal prep, but it's there in that it's the same. Like, when I'm preparing the same type of meal, But my snacking now is like, cottage cheese or pork rinds, or it's not going and finding, you know, uh, chips to eat, pretzels. Like I was real, and obviously cookies. You know, it, as you were saying, like if they wrote the diet, if the diet was correct, the whole pyramid thing is laughable to me when you throw it up there, and then the whole thing of like plating your food, and then like for the weight loss surgery type community and going through some of the programs that that they take you through to get you there and kind of coach you along, and they'll give you a plate, they'll cut it into, or they'll tell you like, you want to make sure you're eating no more than your fist in a chicken breast. And I think they do that mainly because like obviously the changing and everything that's took, like your stomach is not as big, so you have to obviously, the portion size is what gets reduced, which obviously reduces the calorie intake that you're having as well. But it's just it's funny the thing. It's funny how many different ways we get taught to eat, and it goes back to like me saying like turning on the TV and being told today, you're okay to do this, and then tomorrow some other doctor comes on and says no, don't do it that way.
And that's basically what nutrition information has been for the general public of the United States for the last 30 years. On Tuesday, eggs are good. Wednesday, eggs are bad. And then milk is good, meat's bad. And I'm going to touch on Cindy here. So Cindy says, I'm a sugar and carb addict as well as a type 2 diabetic. Diabetes meds cause me extreme lows. So abstinence for me needs to be 100%. The proof being my taste of junk led me to a 5-month binge. So that's one thing that I think is excellent to understand about yourself. I think that's another thing that is so important in this community, is that we all have to we all have to come to terms with what's important for us individually. Mold. So understanding that you're a carb addict, that you have to be 100% on the ball to maintain your consistency and maintain, is vastly important. I mean, is it optimal? No, because nobody's 100% of the time. So that's going to be a struggle nonetheless. But at least you've come to a point where you truly understand and you can plan accordingly to keep yourself on track. And so you said you wanted to go until about 11. We're like 11:10 now. We can pick this back up once I get back from because like they'll be gone next. I'll be gone. So I'll be back. Let me see what the date is so we can kind of give people who are watching an understanding of when we'll be back. 124 people watching across the 4 platforms.
Awesome.
I don't think I've ever had that many before in my life on a stream that I'm a part of. I mean, as far as it's my stream, I've been on big streams before on other channels, but not mine. And I want to say thank you all so much to all of you who are watching. It truly means the world to me. So we're looking at probably like October the 2nd. We can probably do the next one. I think we talked about that outside, but
yeah, that works.
And I want to say thank to all of the members that we have. Thanks for everybody who's been here tonight. You truly make a man feel special. And Jess, thank you so much for being here. Truly, truly inspirational and just amazing to talk to you. And I'm glad that we're doing this. And we
Yeah,
only got through two. We only got through 2 of the 10 myths that I
I
had
know.
picked out.
Well,
So
it's funny because we teed this up at the very beginning before we even came on. It was like we're gonna get into something, and then the the community and just the viewership is going to dictate how the night goes, and that just may be how these go. When we get on here, and that's that's perfectly fine. If it's I enjoy this. I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy you know. I don't know that everyone. Uh, what's the most amount of people you can bring into your stream, Dustin?
I think I can have 10.
Really?
Yeah, it just gets really jumbled when you start getting above, like, depending on the format, it gets really jumbled. Like, because I do a Toxic Tuesday with my buddy, and we do like 6 people. You get above 6 people, it really starts to break down unless you have like a really good host who can kind of keep the reins on people.
Because I was thinking, and I don't know how comfortable some people are with sticking to chat, or even if they wanted to interact and come on live with us, if it was even something that was even feasible or possible of doing. So I'm one of those. I'm a big time people person, and I love to like interact with the face of the person as well. So if we get to that point and it ever turns into that, it would be a nice thing. But I just this gives me something to look forward to. I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, and I'll leave it with this, is like you mentioned that this kind of keeps you grounded, and you're I think you even talked about it when you did your morning coffee things, like on Sundays, and that is like you've made it a commitment not only to yourself but to the people that do show up for you, on a regular basis, of like, I gotta, unless something extreme is happening where, I gotta show up, I've gotta put in the work, I've gotta do this. This isn't something that, and that's the same thing with like, even like, we'll call it, our lifestyles and what we're trying to do, for ourselves in our weight loss journeys as well. And that is, it can't just be like a few month thing. It's got to become that forever thing,
100%. And with that, I think we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. Thanks again so much, everybody. We'll see you October the 2nd back here Wednesday night, me and Jess. And we will put some feelers out and see if anybody may be interested in hopping on with us for a little while here and there, depending on the night. And with that, if you want to stick around, Jess, thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.